The next point that I want to touch on is the letter A, and that is assess the fruit. And the scripture I've associated with this point is Matthew 7:20. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them. I am the first to be able to raise my hand and say that busyness is not a fruit. In some capacity, I have always been busy, doing 10 things at once, always on the go, always helping others, always being involved in something. And I was convicted of that 8 years ago now. I had to reprioritize, and I had to get my life right. And it was in that pursuit of making things right that I was told by my elder that I need to stop being the busybody. And I didn't like that at first, because I'm like, what are you talking about? What's wrong with being busy? But I think the more busy you are, the less focus you have on what's really happening. And when you step back to release the busy nature, that's when suddenly you start to see a lot of things that you're like, oh, that was really like that? Or, oh, was I really that way with them? Busyness masks your ability to see the true fruit you're producing. And fruit, in a rhetorical sense, is evidence of who you are and how you operate yourself. Some commitments that you take on consume so much time and produce so little meaningful fruit. And I think it's so important, again, like I've said with the other points, to really evaluate why you get yourself involved with certain things or why you take on certain challenges. Now, I'm not saying don't try to educate yourself. Don't try to be better in the sense of health, mindset. When you see yourself getting involved with things, even if it's like inadvertently because you're a very fast-paced, on-the-go sort of person, try to purposely put yourself in a place to ask, okay, what fruit is this going to produce if I get myself involved with XYZ? So when it comes to assessing the fruits that you're producing in this particular season, there's some questions that I want you to ask yourself. First of all, are you continuing in whatever it is that you're doing simply because you had already started and you don't want to quit for the sake of thinking you're a quitter? Is this commitment really producing anything good for you? Or better yet, is it furthering or making better something that God has put into your care already? One anchor line that I want to leave with you when it comes to this point of assessing the fruit: activity tells you what you are doing. So being busy. Okay, so activity tells you what you are doing. Fruit tells you whether it's working. And the last point in the word plan, the letter N, name what must be let go. And the verse I have for this is Luke 10:42. And it's only the first part of the verse. And all it says is, but one thing is needful. So you don't necessarily have to have multiple things happening, multiple things on your plate, multiple activities or things that you're involved with, priorities. It could literally just be one specific thing. You always have to remember that the more that you prioritize, the less you're going to be able to give to those priorities. So to reverse engineer that, the less that you truly prioritize, the more you'll be able to give. There is no way possible for you to deprioritize something if you're not willing to give something up. And that works in any area of life. Whether it's with your family, your church, your job, you, does not matter. For you to deprioritize something, you have to let something go. And for you to call other things priorities, you have to realize the key is to deprioritize. So if you're able to, write down these couple things that I want you to think about. What can be limited? What can be put to the side for now? Some things you don't have to let go of forever. We live in seasons. So just because in one season you have to let something go doesn't mean you can't pick that back up in another season. You know, something my dad had told me, I was in college, I was getting ready to graduate, and I was having the hardest time finding any kind of good job. And it was very discouraging. You know, I had these grand ideas, you know, I was going to get married, I was going to have the home, I was going to have a good career. And the guy that I was dating up and just was like, bye. Any possible career aspirations I had, they just kind of withered away because nothing was panning out. Anywhere I applied to, it was just a no or a maybe, or they just never responded. And I was realizing very fast that I wasn't going to have any money. What if this doesn't work out and I went to college for nothing? My parents are going to think I'm a failure. You know, I had all these things rushing through my brain. And I remember I was having a talk with my dad one day on the phone, and he said, everything happens as stepping stones. So what you're going through right now is just a stepping stone. It's not going to last forever. You're going to end up taking another step somewhere else. Hey there, Angela here, and I just want to take a minute to interrupt the conversation and ask you a question. Do you ever feel like your days are just chaotic? Things feel disorganized. You feel like nothing's making sense. And everything that you know that is right to do doesn't seem to just work. Well, I'm here to tell you that maybe you're just applying the wrong tools to the wrong season. And with that, I want to talk to you about taking the Season Audit Quiz. It's a 12-question quiz that I created to help you get a simple gauge on where you are at in life. It'll help you understand some of the things you're going through. It'll give you some call to actions so that you can start working on and prioritizing now. And it'll give you some biblical reference to help you understand where the truth really comes from. The quiz is linked at the top of my YouTube page, and it's also linked in each of the YouTube videos that I'm going to be posting for this podcast. Now let's get back into the conversation. Obviously, being young and dumb, I didn't like what he told me. I was just angry. But now that I've had time to marinate in age and in experiences, I realized, wow, that was actually really great advice. Everything that you go through in life is a stepping stone. And it's up to you on the direction you go, whether you're going to go forward or whether you're going to go backwards. In order for you to reprioritize things in your life, it is always going to require you to let go of something. If you truly mean to better yourself, to grow, to begin producing fruits, you have to let go of something. I had a basketball coach once who told me, for you to receive something, like I'm making a fist right now, right? I can't grab anything with fists. Like I can't really do much. I can maybe bump this mic, but I can't pick it up. I can't rewire the wire. I can't do anything with my fists. But if I let go what I'm clenching onto, suddenly I have open hands. And now I can receive whatever I need to receive. I can now move the mic. I can reposition it. I can fix the wire. I can Not only do that, I can fix the camera. I can push the buttons on the camera. And that's because I let go of what I was gripping so tightly onto. And I think we do that a lot in life. So a few points that I have regarding what this consciously means for you in your daily practices. You need to ask yourself, what can wait? What can be delegated? What can be simplified? What can be declined? And what must be released? Some things are good, but just because they're good does not mean that they are yours to carry right now. So some questions to ask. What must you say no to? What can be delayed without disobedience? What can someone else handle? What am I carrying because I fear disappointing people? That's a big one. Comparison issue, again. What is good, but not mine to do right now? The anchor line that I have for this is, faithful planning is not fitting everything in. It is simply recognizing what does not belong. All right, so we've been through the framework. Again, the P.L.A.N framework. The P represents place God's priorities first. The L, locate your current season. The A, assess the fruit. And the N, name what must be let go. Now you need to apply it. You need, whether it's taking notes, whether it's just sitting down and meditating on it, whether it's taking some alone time to really think through how to reprioritize yourself based on this. You do not need to make progress in every area simultaneously. And this is something that I had struggled with for a time. I felt like, gosh, I should be healthier. I should be more on point at work. I should be more knowledgeable about this, and this for things at church. You know, I felt like there was just so many different facets that I had to be 100% perfect and efficient in. And I realized that it's okay to not be perfect and efficient in everything that you expect yourself to be in. The anchor line for this point is, faithful planning is not fitting everything in. It's simply recognizing what does not belong. Now, I want to reinforce each of these points with you because it's great to talk about them, but unless we really come down to some action items that you should really take on, there's really no true change, or there's no true application. So the first thing that I wanted to reinforce with you is, you do not need to make progress in every area simultaneously. Now, that goes in two different directions. You don't need to make progress in all sorts of areas that are currently going on in your life right now simultaneously. But it also applies to these points. If you try to tackle all these points at once, it doesn't really work. You have to build one on top of the other. The second thing is, you do not need to accept every opportunity in your life. And this is more of a general point. I think sometimes we get so eager and so excited when you feel like there's a refresh. You feel like, okay, I'm getting a grip on things. Awesome. Now let me take on some new and exciting things along with this because now I can handle it, right? And that's not necessarily true. Sometimes you just have to work with what you have in front of you and around you and manage that beyond perfection. Third thing is, you do not need to carry every problem. As women, I think we tend to overwhelm ourselves because we feel like, okay, we have to deal with kids' issues. You have to deal with any issues that are going on in your marriage, any close friends, any relatives. You feel like you need to take on those burdens. Any issues or circumstances in your community or in your church, you feel like you're responsible in some way to help with those. And it's just kind of a big snowball to the point where you just completely exhaust yourself. You completely put yourself in a place of total failure. And then you wonder, how? How did I get to this point? And then you have to start all over again. You do not need to prove your capacity by staying overwhelmed. So these points tie in together. Sometimes we take on so much because we feel like we have to prove that we can handle things and that we can be effective. We can be the go-to person. And sometimes it's like you want to be the go-to person, but emotionally you're not available. Or you want to be the go-to person, but in trying to be that, you realize, geez, mentally I'm just not capable of doing this right now. And it's okay to admit that. It's okay to say no sometimes. Or better yet, it's okay to say not yet. You need to understand that faithfulness doesn't mean you have to do everything. Faithfulness is doing what God has placed in your hands now and making sure that you just don't do it, but you do it well. Another anchor line that I have to apply to this is the goal is not a perfectly balanced life. The goal for you is a properly ordered life. As a closing challenge, I want you to sit back and think, where am I at in my life? What season am I really in? What am I going through? What am I experiencing right now that requires my attention, requires my devotion? And then what are some things that really don't require my attention? They don't require my devotion. Take a tally, an inventory of what's going on in your life. And I even want to take it further and suggest I have the season audit that I created. Take the season audit to get a gauge on where you're at. And then let me know. Message me. You can DM me through Instagram. You can email me at theplanpodcast@gmail.com. Before you build another routine and before you make another list, stop and decide what really deserves your attention. You don't need a better plan for doing everything. You need the wisdom to faithfully do what matters most. And wisdom comes from knowing the season that you're truly in. If you found value in this podcast, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments.